Introduction to an atom. Parts of an atom. What is an atom? The atom is the basic building block for all matter in the universe. Atoms are made up of smaller particles. Protons, which are positively charged particles. Neutrons, particles that do not have a charge. Electrons, which are negatively charged particles. The structure of an atom. At the center of the atom, you will find a nucleus. Inside this nucleus, you will find the protons and the neutrons. The space around the atom is divided into orbitals, where you will find the electrons. How many atoms have been identified? Scientists have identified 118 different atoms. However, as technology advances, more atoms could be identified. Early scientists. Early scientists such as Max Planck, John Dalton, J.J. Thomson, Ernest Rutherford, and Niels Bohr all contributed to developing our understanding of the atom. Here's a slide that gives you the history of the atom and a timeline. As the development of the atom developed, scientists noticed that some elements have similar characteristics. A table was created using these characteristics. This table became known as the periodic table. Let's take a closer look. The periodic table is divided into rows and columns. Here is a simplified periodic table only showing the first 20 atoms called elements. Now, let's take a closer look. The table is divided into rows. The number of orbitals found in each element was used to determine which row the element was placed. Row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. The table was then divided into columns. The number of atoms found in the outside orbital was then used to determine which column the element was placed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How did scientists determine how to position the elements on the periodic table? To understand this, we must take a closer look at the structure of an atom. The nucleus, as we already said, is found at the center of the atom. Inside the nucleus is found the neutrons, which are neutral charged, and protons, which are positive charged. Neutrons have no charge, so are considered neutral. Protons are positive charged particles. Found outside the nucleus are electrons. Electrons are thought to be found in orbitals around the nucleus. Orbitals are described as the region around a nucleus of an atom or molecule that may contain 0, 1, or 2 electrons. Electrons arrange themselves in cloud-like regions around the nucleus called orbitals. We will use the symbol E with a line above it to indicate an electron. In this diagram, we have one orbital with one electron in it. This could represent hydrogen. So let's recap. Electrons are negatively charged particles found in orbitals around the nucleus. Once scientists discovered that the electrons are found in orbitals, they were able to find the number of orbitals in each atom. This information was used to place atoms in the periodic table according to the number of orbitals and then the electrons within each atom. Here is a simplified periodic table of the first 20 elements. They called the rows periods and the columns groups. They started with orbital 1. Hydrogen has one electron in the first orbital. Helium has 2 electrons in its first orbital. They continued filling the atoms according to their characteristics, the number of outer orbitals, and then the number of electrons in the outer orbital. So we have 4 periods, which mean 4 concentric orbitals, and we have groups, which have the same number of electrons in its outside orbital, or what we call its valence shell. As new elements were discovered, they were added to the periodic table. This is a full and complete periodic table with clues and hints about the information provided about an element and the common characteristics of specific groups of of atoms. You have been given a periodic table to use in this course. As new elements were discovered, they were added to the periodic table.